Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar, Creating a Customer 360 for Life Sciences. I'm Monica Mullen, Principal Solutions Marketing Manager at Informatica, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. Shortly, I'll be joined by industry experts on life sciences and master data management from both ZS and Informatica. We've put together what I hope today will be valuable to you. We'll guide you through how you can create and share trusted actionable data and discover important relationships regardless of where you are on your master data management maturity so that you can grow customer satisfaction and have more relevant customer conversations. That is our goal for you. So we'll kick off shortly and our speakers will introduce themselves after this welcome. We'll then walk through a few of the trends that we see impacting life sciences companies. We'll walk through a case study and a deep dive for one of our joint customers and how they're creating a better customer experience by implementing Customer 360 on the cloud. We'll go through a demo and showcase the key elements of the Customer 360 for Life Sciences solution and how it's been tailored to the needs of the pharmaceutical industry. And then we'll go into a second deep dive on how you can extend from that first domain around customer into other areas such as product and supply chain and evolve from a single domain to multiple business needs beyond HCP and HCO. And so without any further ado, let's get started. So Koi, off to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Koi Huang. I run our strategic initiatives and principal architecture team for Informatica. I was one of the founders of Informatica's MDM product back in 2000, so about 20 years in the space of talking about mastering of management of data. Along with me, I have Amar Feroz, principal at ZS. Amar, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Koi. Yeah, I'm a principal with ZS, based in our San Francisco office. I lead our master data management practice at ZS, and I've been with ZS for over 15 years. Very excited to be doing this webinar with Koi and the Informatica team. I also want to introduce Eric, who's an associate principal with ZS. Eric?
Hello, my name is Eric Letz. I'm an associate principal at ZS. I've been working within the life science industry for over 25 years and been focusing on master data management for 16 years.
Thanks, Eric. So in this session, we have partnered up with ZS to kind of talk to you about what Informatica and ZS are doing within the life sciences space. ZS has certainly been a strong partner of ours and have been working with us around all different solutions. And today we're specifically talking about how MDM applies to pharma. Turning over to you, Amar, can you tell us a little bit about ZS?
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Koi. Yeah, I think as Koi mentioned, we've been in the industry over 35 years with a very heavy emphasis or focus in healthcare and life sciences. ZS as a company, we work all the way from strategy to implementations and operations, so wide in terms of services we provide. We're about 7,500 professionals all over the world in about 28 offices, serving over 1,200 clients, and in presence, having a fairly significant presence in all of the top 20 pharma. I think we are very excited to be partnering with Informatica, who bring a lot of depth in terms of data management expertise and technology expertise to pull together this offering. Informatica has been a strategic partner of ours for over 10 years, and we've had multiple successful Informatica MDM implementations over the last 5 years. Next.
Thanks, Amar. Can you describe to us what some of the trends are that you're seeing in the industry?
Thanks, Koi. Yeah, I think it's definitely a very exciting time to be in the industry. We are seeing a number of different trends that are driving a lot of investments in data and data management solutions. I want to cover a few of those trends. I also wanted to talk about some example use cases where we're seeing these trends having meaningful impact on these processes and use cases. I picked 4 trends here to talk about. The first one is really the investments in digital. A lot of our life sciences pharma companies are accelerating their investments they're making in digital. It started about 4 or 5 years ago, where there was a heavy emphasis on getting more customer-centric and driving multi-channel type journeys, investments in digital promotions, and more recently, the acceleration due to COVID with the investments in remote detailing, e-promotions, and things like that. The second trend, which is mainly an ex-US trend, is the changes in compliance. Starting with GDPR from about 3 or 4 years ago to more recently, a number of countries following suit, especially in Brazil, China, and other places where GDPR type compliance needs have increasingly driven the need to have more robust data management solutions to support those compliance requirements. The third trend we are seeing quite a bit, especially in the US, is the rise of the organized customer. Historically, we've seen a very HCP-centric model in the US, but with the increasing influence really of the payers and providers in the space, we're starting to see entities get themselves, basically they're now like organized customers. And understanding the influence of a payer, a provider, and an HCP in a local market is increasingly requiring pharma companies to have better understanding of the data to support that organized customer. Lastly is the importance of patients in this process. As DTC spends increase, as awareness of disease and treatments increase among patients, we are finding that patients are a very integral part of the customer set, and pharma companies are trying to create better experiences with them. Patients are also starting to engage in more in a millennial fashion, and pharma companies had to develop solutions and capabilities to address that. With that, I wanted to call out maybe a couple of examples where we are seeing these trends having meaningful impact on processes that pharma companies have to deal with. One example is value-based contracting. As we see an increased focus on value in the ecosystem, we are starting to see contracting following that. And in order to get really effective at value-based contracting, you need to really understand the various parts of the healthcare ecosystem. Where is purchasing happening? How is the customer affiliated? How is a site affiliated with the hospital? And being able to roll up various type of data in order to drive the strategy for contracting as well as the execution and payout of the rebate. Another example of this is with the rise of the organized customers, you now have an increased focus on key account management. And by needing to be more account centric, you now need to have better affiliations data. You need to have better data about sites and hospitals and relationships between sites and hospitals and various administrators in those sites. And that is causing pharma companies need to really get better handle of their data, identify what is trusted sources, know how to effectively master these sources across their enterprise. Quickly want to call out one example of a customer that has gone through this journey. A recent customer, a top 10 biopharma company, embarked on this journey to transform their MDM ecosystem. They did not have a well-integrated MDM system, had lots of data quality issues, really struggled with onboarding new data sources. And anytime they wanted to make any modification to their system, it was very time consuming. Had limited to no data governance, and a number of their important customers like HCOs and payers weren't mastered, so they didn't have a single source of truth for those entities. The client went through a journey where they pulled together an Informatica-based solution where we pulled 35 plus data sources, integrated with over 20 downstream systems, set up the right capability for data quality, set up some advanced data as a service capability, and designed sort of a really robust KPI tracking mechanism to ensure the data quality was good. This has resulted in a fairly high business impact for this customer, things like eliminating address duplicates as well as actual customer record duplicates, and really enhancing their customer engagement processes as well as their in-house processes, things like call planning, incentive management, and territory management. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Eric, who will walk us through the details of the LS360 solution.
Informatica MDM supports the master data needs for companies across a wide spectrum of industries. With configuration, the platform can support virtually any company's needs, regardless of industry, but configuration is always required. With Customer 360 for life sciences, Informatica and ZS partnered to provide a solution that is tailored to meet the specific needs and use cases for life science companies. C360LS is focused on managing the healthcare ecosystem data, including healthcare professionals, healthcare organizations, and the complex and varied affiliations between them, all with the goal of reducing the time to value for deployments and providing a robust solution and rich user experience. We'll now dive a little deeper into the solution. At the center is Informatica and the core Customer 360 capabilities that are used to support all industry solutions. These include key capabilities such as the ability to match and deduplicate customers, to establish survivorship rules that can create golden records, to manage affiliations, to use workflow capabilities, and a suite of other capabilities that are all key fundamental needs for master data solutions across industries. C360LS creates a tailored solution that is specific for life science companies. The focus overall is being able to provide the ability to manage the complex data and support the processes needed by life science companies. Key areas where we've extended the solution support are the extension of the data model to support the full data attribution needed for life science companies, as well as the tailoring of match rules to align with life science data assets, the configuration of affiliations to support not only the affiliations between HCPs and HCOs, but also to be able to define the complex organization hierarchies and the relationships between organizations. We've also tailored the user interface and the workflow capabilities to support DCRs and the metric capabilities. We've also incorporated an ingestion layer to ensure that only quality data is loaded into the master. This ingestion layer includes a suite of data quality checks throughout the process, including data cleansing and standardization processes for name, address, and reference data, as well as the ability to execute business rule-based calculations like best address. We've also included a publication layer to be able to provide the ability to publish healthcare professional, healthcare organization, and affiliation data throughout the enterprise in either a change data delta mode or in a snapshot full file mode. We also can support the ability for real-time integration. This entire package solution is all available within the Informatica cloud environment, minimizing the amount of work for a master data solution that needs to be done outside of the core platform. This package solution provides the ability for us to more readily deploy solutions to meet customer-specific needs. The core focus is integrating to support the various data sources, which include sources like CRM, Viva, or Tika Mobile, or syndicated data from sources like IQVIA, Symphony, and MedPro, or partner data from specialty or sources or IntegraChain. Also then focuses on the consumption of the data throughout the enterprise, back into systems like CRM or into the enterprise data warehouse, and the ability to share the data with partners like marketing partners to support programs like Omnichannel. We'll now provide a brief demonstration. This introduction to the Customer 360 for Life Sciences user interface provides an introduction to the solution's overall capabilities. Note that Informatica is a very flexible tool, so what's presented can be easily adjusted to meet company specific needs. And today I've logged in as a data steward. I'm first presented with my dashboard. At the top of my dashboard, I can see the tasks that have been assigned to me. I could select a task if I want to reconcile it. I could also view tasks that have been assigned to others. Below that, I can see any work that I might have started that's in a draft mode. I can also see work that I've previously submitted. Below that are a series of metrics. We have some metrics around outstanding tasks by customer and priority. There are some data quality metrics around potential overmerges and undermerges for healthcare professionals and organizations. Note that these can be drilled into further for more details. There are some metrics around data that has been published to downstream consumers. And metrics around DCRs that are rejected by type. And finally, there are metrics around DCR volume over time. Next, I'm going to discuss searching. There are two types of searches that are available. The first is a web-like type of search. I can type in something like Ascension, And the solution will search and find any customer that has the word Ascension as part of the profile. The second type are queries. Queries provide the ability to search using multiple attributes. There are some pre-built queries, but users can create their own as well. For example, we can search for all organizations that are of type corporation. We could further qualify this to reduce it by limiting it down to companies that start with the letter A. And here again, I have Ascension Health. Now let's look at some customer data. When viewing customer data, we were first presented with the customer dashboard. The dashboard provides a snapshot view of a lot of information, some master data and some other information as well. First at the top, we see some key organization information: the organization name, the classification, the primary address and email and phone. We also see a glimpse into the hierarchies, and there are also facets that have been set up to focus on certain types of affiliations, like legal hierarchy, purchasing and distribution, contacts. We also get a quick glimpse into the sources that are contributing to the customer, and we can also view information from the web. So here we can see some tweets from Ascension. On the top, there are a series of tabs that provide access to data and functionality. The first is the Business Entity tab. The Business Entity tab provides the ability to view and maintain all of your customer data. On the top, we have some summary information, like the organization name, the overall classifications, the overall status, the primary address communication information. If we scroll down, we can view all of the details. We have role status information, all the various identifiers associated with an organization, the overall address information. Note that data can be viewed in a form view or in a table list view. Continuing, we see that there is phone information, electronic address information, social media information, DEA information, and finally, the ability to store some less structured data as additional information. On the left-hand side, we see the various segments that we just walked through. The green lights indicate that the segment has data. A gray light indicates there is no data for that segment. If we click on a segment, we're immediately brought to that spot on the page. On the right side, we have the affiliations for the organization. Now, there's a better way to view affiliations, and that's visually. There are two methods to view affiliations visually: a hierarchy view and a network view. We'll first look at the hierarchy view. The hierarchy view provides the ability to view data in a tree-like structure. Here we can see that Ascension Health has 3 different organizations affiliated with it, as well as 2 contacts. Each of these entities we can drill into further to see their associated affiliations. On the right-hand side, we can maintain the affiliation information. We can see that we can edit, we could delete an affiliation, we could end date an affiliation. We can also open up the associated customer. Here, I've opened up and we can see all of St. Vincent Hospital's information. The other method to view affiliations is the network view. The network view provides the ability to view affiliations in more of a spatial manner. It also allows you to see connections between customers. In this example, I'm going to open up both the St. Vincent Hospital, expand that, and I'm going to expand the Centers for Diagnostic Imaging. And here we can then see that Connie Lynn Thomas is affiliated with both organizations. So again, this is just another way to view affiliations visually. The last three tabs we're going to cover are matching, cross-referencing, and history. First, we'll review cross-reference data. The cross-reference tab provides the ability to view all of the source data that is associated with a customer. Here I can see all of the profiles as well as all of the attributes that the profiles have provided, along with which are contributing to the master. You can also from here select and unmerge a profile if it was overmerged, and you can adjust trust settings. The next tab is matching. The match tab provides the ability to view potential matches. Here we can see that there is a potential match that is currently being reviewed by a data steward and is in a pending status. On this tab, a data steward can also manually search for a customer and merge into the current customer if there happened to be a duplicate within the master. The final tab is the History tab. The History tab provides the ability to view all changes to a master record over time. Each change can be viewed at a specific element level. For example, on this change event, I can see that multiple fields were updated by the admin user. That concludes our review of healthcare organizations. Now let's look at some healthcare professionals. I'm going to start with a web-like search for an HCP. I'm going to look for Terry. Healthcare professionals follows the same paradigm as healthcare organizations. We have again the dashboard, business entity tab, matching, cross-reference, history, hierarchy, and network. What's different, of course, is the data is different all throughout. Here on the dashboard, we have first name and last name. We have professional designation and specialty, gender, date of birth, state license, qualifications. While there are some similarities as well, here we still see the contributing sources. We see the simple hierarchy view. Now let's drill into the business entity tab to view the available healthcare professional data. Again, at the top, we see a summary view that has information like first, middle, and last name, as well as suffix. We see the gender, marital status, professional designation, and again, the primary address and communication information. If we drill down, we see the detailed information for role status, the various identifiers for a healthcare professional, the address information, this time showing the best address indication. We have the phone information, the electronic address information, qualification information, specialties, including primary, secondary, and if desired, tertiary. We have DEA information, state license. We have sanction information. And again, for some less structured data, we have the ability to store as additional information. Again, we have the same segments. On the left, the ability to see which ones have data and which ones do not. And we have the affiliations on the right. Let's click on the hierarchy view. In the hierarchy view, we see the same tree-like structure, but this time we can see where the healthcare professional fits within the Ascension Health organization. If we click on the network view, and here we can readily see that Terry is affiliated with both St. Vincent and the Center for Diagnostic Imaging. The last four capabilities that we will review are New, Task Manager, File Import, and Ad Hoc Matching. First, new. The data stewards have the ability to create a healthcare professional or organization totally from scratch. Task Manager provides the ability for data stewards to reconcile and assign tasks. It also provides the ability for tasks to be reassigned to other data stewards. New File Import provides business users the ability to load a file without involving IT. Here, a user can upload a CSV or Excel file, map the data elements, and import the file. Similarly, ad hoc matching provides the ability for a user to match data that's in a file to the master. A user can upload a CSV or an Excel file, map the fields, and then review the match results. This concludes our brief demonstration of Customer 360 for Life Sciences. I hope this demonstration has been beneficial and has provided some insight into how C360LS can help you master your customer data.
Thanks, Eric, for the great demo. Let's talk about the Customer 360 for Life Sciences and why it's different from everything out there. First of all, what we have is a very set of robust capabilities on the MDM side and mature capabilities to be able to really implement this solutions effectively. But much more so, we have accelerators that allow us to get a faster time to market and certainly provide innovative capabilities along the way. And how we're able to do this is really have a pre-configured set of rules and models that allow you to get started and be able to be successful very, very quickly. In addition, Customer 360 for Life Sciences provides you a much more robust and superior user experience that allows you and the business to actually get value out of the solution itself. Certainly, as part of the solution, you also have the stewardship and the governance requirements. And so here we have out of the box and pre-configured workflows and data management capabilities to provide those data stewardships, the capabilities that they're looking for. And finally, and most importantly, a lot of the best practices comes from ZS's experience within the pharma industry to be able to put some of those thought leadership and some of those key requirements that the business is looking for into the solution itself. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Business 360 and a slightly different use case around other usages of mastering of data within MDM. So here we have basically the FDA, and I think most of people know who the FDA is. But what's funny is that in my previous job, I was working at a medical device company as a researcher. And my experience with the FDA is we just basically had to submit all our studies to the FDA. And then they would go in and they would audit our books, and they would also audit our facilities. And it was a really scary and nerve-wracking experience for us. But on the flip side, if you really think about it, the FDA's point of view, they are responsible for the safety and efficacy of all the drugs in the market to protect public health. And as you can imagine, this is a very tough job because they have huge numbers of drugs and submissions that they have to process and all the data that they have to collect and certainly manage. So the first thing that the FDA did as they started their MDM journey was to master product in the product lifecycle. And as you can imagine, this is a very complex thing for them to do, as the product has many touch points before it reaches the common public. What their business users needed was really a single view of that product and how to link that information together across all the disparate systems that they had. The hard part really was there was really no ways to accomplish this, and then there were so many different variations with the data across the systems that they really had to look at it from a much more holistic and strategic way. The FDA started their journey with the product side, as I mentioned, as it was the most urgent and it had the most critical data to their business. They successfully addressed some of the limited use cases that they had. And then following this, they ended up expanding those use cases to address facilities and companies, and then the relationship with the product. They came back, and then from there in the following year, they focused on the data quality and trying to fix the quality at the source and really be able to provide this value back to those sources themselves. Following this, then they moved to expand their use cases to managing supply chain. And then from there, they had new requirements around the regulations around products. So then they returned the product to roll out the version 2 of their product management and product mastering requirements. The following year, then they extended the program to submission, ingredients, and studies. And as you can see, this is a journey for them, because as they started looking at implementing more and more of those domains and use cases, they got more and more value out of it, and they got additional business use case that they were able to address. So in their current state, they were able to look across all their different domains and understand the relationships that span across these domains. And this was key to being able to solve and address some of those business requirements that their business was looking for. And this is what we mean by Business 360, is not only really looking at from a single domain perspective, but looking across the relationships to ask some of the more complicated and advanced questions.
Let's take a quick look at the dashboard that the FDA has built on top of MDM to assess the state of the supply chain across the world. With this dashboard, they're able to understand drug manufacturing facilities and labelers that are affected when an adverse event happens, an event like Hurricane Sally that just hit Florida. They were able to use this data to determine what other facilities and sponsors they can work with to offset the production of some of these products. If you were to imagine they didn't have MDM, they would be spending days and weeks jumping into multiple systems, exporting data, combining those into spreadsheets, and then curating those so that they can create the same report. This wastes not only manpower, but most importantly, precious time that's needed in order to respond to such catastrophic events.
All right, thanks, Coy. Let's now move into Q&A. There are a few questions that are common as we have conversations around MDM and our Customer 360 for Life Sciences solutions that maybe we can have a quick conversation about. Coy, you talked about MDM and the ability to configure the Customer 360 solution, but I know that there's a lot of questions still that come up within our customer base and within our discussions around what really is the difference between MDM and Customer 360. Can you dig into that just a little bit more, just to clarify that point?
Certainly, thanks, Monica. So Customer 360 for Life Sciences is based on top of the core functionality of MDM. So you basically get all of MDM capabilities with Customer 360, but it has accelerators, pre-built accelerators in there that allow you to get quicker time to market. What I mean by that is we have a model specifically for life sciences, for pharma customers, that incorporate HCO, HCP, all the relationships, some of the sources that you're most likely going to be using as part of the data inside of your implementation. Additionally, we have pre-built rules, pre-built UIs, and everything. So that really, instead of the typical implementation time of typically see 6 to 9 months, we're talking a matter of 3 to 4 months these days, and that really gets your value out of it, because you're getting quicker time to market here. Amar, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it well, Coy. I think the main thing I would add is many of the clients think about MDM and setting up a foundational capability, which is an MDM, which allows you to really articulate what your customers, a definition of your customers, the relationship between them. But it's not sufficient to stop there. And in order to truly get value out of it, you need to understand the full 360 around that customer, which would include things like transactions, their experience, their both qualitative or quantitative information about that customer, which then really helps you to take advantage of understanding the full 360.
And one thing I forgot to add was it's really about the best practices as well. ZS has certainly built up a huge amount of experience around business requirements. It's not just technical requirements, and being able to incorporate some of the technical capabilities to be able to address those business requirements. And so that's going to be key to successful implementation of your Customer 360, is to be able to address business and not just IT.
I think that's a good point, because when you address the business side of it, you get adoption, right? You get the business to embrace it. And that's really one of the key success factors, is that adoption level. Another question I think that we get asked a lot is, given the complexity of most MDM implementations, right? You kind of hit on it, right? A lot of them take 9 to 12 months, and some of them even never really get adopted. They end up in failure. how is this solution different than maybe, I mean, we've touched on it with, you know, the pre-configured elements designed for the business in mind, but, you know, is there anything else that really contributes to the success of this type of an MDM implementation? Amar, I don't know what you've seen out there in the marketplace. Maybe that's something that you could start with.
Yeah, I think it's important to, obviously there's things like having the business case in place, having the right people and processes in place to get a solution like this successful. But in terms of time to market or time to value, I think we've been really able to accelerate that journey. One, just by leveraging the cloud more holistically. Two, pre-building a lot of the accelerators or assets that are needed. So things like data connectors, things like pre-building the connector with your CRM systems, you know, and there's things like pre-building the workflow components of MDM. I think just having a lot of assets and pre-configured solutions tied to business use cases that we commonly see MDM systems supporting. So things like if you're facilitating an incentive comp process, we know that you need to have, you know, snapshots of addresses, and so pre-building some of those features with the right business processes in mind help us accelerate these deployments, as opposed to starting with a clean slate and trying to gather requirements ground up and then trying to implement the solution.
Yeah, I would add to that also. I mean, we're looking at a holistic solution here, not just mastering, right? There's components around matching and stuff like that, but here we're talking about being able to apply data quality to improve the data along the way. And a lot of those kind of sources have similar types of issues around quality. And so here we have pre-built mindshare around what that data quality needs to look like and incorporating that into the solution itself. Additionally, you know, as we're talking about, data stewardship, data governance are key for successful MDM projects. And here you have robust capabilities that are pre-built, that we understand what the stewardship might look like. And so we can provide you some guidance in order to really put together a governance program and not just, you know, start from scratch here.
And I think another good point too, Eric talked to this around the publication of this data, right? It doesn't just sit in the hub. It gets pushed out to the other systems so that they're consistent as well. They have the right phone number for the right purpose, for the right person. And I think that, you know, something you think about it being such a simple thing, but there's so much complexity in the healthcare and pharma industry that even something like that and trying to contact and connect with customers is just so critical, because time is so valuable in today's world.
Right. And Amar talked about compliance and things like that. I mean, with regulations around CCPA and GDPR and all those things, it has to be factored into your mastering and your governance policies, right? And so this is where a lot of that's already kind of predefined, or at least thought through with ZS. And so here we've kind of incorporated that and made it as part of the solution.
Then I think the next thing is, you know, how do you get started? I don't know if that's something.
Ultimately, this is a data management problem that we're trying to fit the right solution in place. So technology is a very key, important part of getting it right. But I think a couple of other things that are really important to get right are the vision and the strategy. Where are you headed? What is the vision? What is this solution trying to enable? What business outcomes are you trying to achieve? Is there a business transformation that we can piggyback onto? And I think that's really the step one of what we advise most of our clients, is to have a very clear strategy, vision, and roadmap. Along with that comes things like selecting the right technology, selecting the right solution. But I think the other key aspect is having the right governance in place. And that includes both the people and the processes that would need to be developed in order to ensure you get good data quality and you get good outputs from that data quality. So step two, I would say, is having the right organization, people, process, governance in place. And then step three, I would say, is ensuring you have the right business case. So most of my clients who start on this journey tend to start with these three steps and then make sure that they have the right technology to support their needs.
Yeah, totally. And then once, I think that's the key from my experience, is the key is really making sure that the business case is a business set of requirements and not just a technical set of requirements. And so traditionally, you know, if you kind of dive into the next level, is what is the how do the technology fit into this? we typically start on the MDM side, which is very different than kind of like development mindset. But on the MDM side, we always look at what's the outcome we're looking for, and then we work backwards to get to figure out then what sources and what data we need to be able to get to those outcomes. But if you don't have that defined, it's very, very hard to have a successful project.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you guys. Thanks for sharing that knowledge and wisdom and experience around these complex types of implementations, because sometimes half the struggle is just getting started. So that will wrap up the webinar at this point in time. Hopefully this did provide some value to those of you that are listening in today. Things around creating and sharing that trusted, actionable data, discovering those important relationships that are so critical, especially as Amar described, around the rise of the organized customer, and then, you know, where you are in your maturity, right? This solution is designed regardless of that, whether it's something that you're just starting with an MDM implementation, trying to even understand what MDM is all about, or whether you're mature, you've had something in-house for quite some time, maybe it's a built your own, maybe it's older technology. I mean, MDM has advanced and changed so much in just the 5 years that I've been with Informatica. So being able to grow that customer satisfaction by understanding your customers is really critical value of MDM. And so before you go, I'd like to invite you to join ZS and Informatica at the ZS Impact Summit on October 13th. The virtual event will highlight the actions required to accelerate change, and many life sciences leaders will be discussing the evolution of the go-to-market strategy, models, and capabilities required for customer engagement. On the screen, you'll see a registration code. Please feel free to use that. And in the resources widget is a link to the registration page. I'd like to once again thank Coy, Amar, and Eric for spending time with us today, and also to thank all of you for joining us. If you did like what you heard, please feel free to leave the feedback in the survey. We do read every comment that comes in and appreciate your feedback as well. We also have many more webinars, both from a business and a technology perspective, on the informatica.com website if you'd like to learn more. If you do have any questions, please reach out to one of us or to your account manager. So from all of us, thank you for supporting Informatica webinars, and have a pleasant day. Thank you.